Okay, so the person I had for this case study is Ricky Malhotra. A little bit of background information about him. He has a PhD from the University of Michigan and the University of Chicago, and he is also a former research assistant professor of the Department of Internal Medicine at UM. Before discussing his research, I first want to discuss about G-protein coupled receptor kinase 2. So what this does, it is a central signaling node involved in the modification of GPCRs, and they display regulatory functions and other cell signaling routes. And they are reported to be enhanced in patients with diseases such as heart failure and hypertension, and for this particular case study, cardiac hypertrophy. So here is what his research summary is about. The primary goal is to study the effects of hypertrophy and cardiac myocytes on beta-AR signaling, as well as an impact on the levels of GRK2 activity. His methods include many statistical gathering steps, including measurement of protein synthesis, quantitative real-time PCR, immunoblotting, cell fractioning, and even experimental testing on mice. This particular paper was published in 2010 in the Journal of Biological Chemistry. So here's what they found in the misconduct. So the Office of Research Integrity in 2016 has been notified about suspicious activity found in Malhotra's paper. The ORI found that he had reused and falsely labeled multiple Western blot gel images, falsified measurements based on those Western blots, and even fabricated data on experiments that were never performed. According to Retraction Watch, specifically, he has admitted to fabricating 74 experiments and well over 100 Western blots. So here we have one of the figures that was in the NCBI published paper labeled the mechanical stretch simulated activation of GRK2 inhibited by angiotensin II AT1 receptor antagonist irbesartan. So this is one of the figures that the ORI has deemed to be fabricated. And so overall, they found him guilty of fabrication and falsification of his data. So his sanctions involved him agreeing to retracting the paper from the journal, and for the next 10 years since that retraction, any of the research that he chose to conduct involving funding by the U.S. Public Health Service had to be supervised by them, and he could not have been a peer reviewer for the next 5 years based on his falsification from 2016 onward. So what are the major impacts of his falsifications? So he didn't actually have to pay back any of the fines, even though he did abuse over almost $400,000 in awarded grants from 2011. And according to Retraction Watch, since the retraction of the paper, Malhotra was no longer working at his previous job, which was at PicoCal, from observation of his LinkedIn profile. So here I have taken the liberty to actually look into his LinkedIn profile for a little bit, and I found his about information, and I highlighted some of the rather ironic statements found in his profile. Also, according to his profile, he was actually currently working as an advisor in the life science pharmaceutical industry since 2004, which is after he was relieved of his duties at the PicoCal Institute. And that is my presentation. I hope you enjoyed.